So typically with my woodworking company, 23 Roses Woodworks, I usually don't get into these trendy little craft projects that you see in a billion videos on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. I don't know, I just kind of like to buck the system, I guess. But this one I really like. So what we're doing today is that floating cross you've been seeing all over the place. And if you haven't seen it, you're probably not watching social media of any kind. But I really like this project. It fits well with the footprint of my business, my company, and this channel. It's a floating cross, and I love Jesus. So we're going to start off with the miter saw, the table saw. It's simple, it'll be quick, but I'm going to show you the magic behind the floating. All right, so here we're just getting all of our small pieces cut down to shape. Now, this is not exact because you could do this in a billion different ways. I'm using some old scrap cedar that I had. I've talked about on videos before that I've got a lot of cedar from when we built my brother-in-law's cabin. Cedar of all different shapes and sizes and scrap pieces. So I decided just to use some of those for this quick little project today to show you guys. But I'm just kind of getting these trimmed up to the shape and sizes I want. And all of this I can do on the miter saw for the most part. I do use the table saw a little bit. You're also going to notice on these pieces that there's some shiny sides and then there's some dull sides. And that's because that a lot of this wood was treated and clear coated because it was being used at various places in the home. And so, like again, I said, these are all scraps. So I'll go back and sand some of this down later and get some of the clear coat off, but I do leave it on in a few places. So I did decide after I got thinking about it that I wanted to add a few more trim pieces around this just to give it a few more layers and not be so simple. So I had some just pieces of pine scrap left over from, actually this was trim from when we did the miter saw station here. Here I'm just kind of laying out where I wanted these to go. And then we're gonna do some stain on these little pine pieces to kind of give them a little bit of color. And I ended up going with the Colonial Maple as the stain color. It's real light. It's got a little bit of an orangey hue to it, but I thought it went really well with the lighter tones that are naturally in the cedar. So while it gave it some contrast, it kind of complemented it. Now I did just glue these on, and I ended up shooting a few brad nails through each of these trim pieces. Now, for ones that I would sell at a vendor show or to clients, I wouldn't do the brad nails. I would just give the glue time to set up. But I was trying to do this for demonstration purposes for this video, so you'll see me use the brad nailer a few times. I ended up really liking the way the lighter tone on the little pine strips ended up pairing up with the darker colors on the cedar. Kind of gave a little depth to these columns, if you will. And we got one last trim piece, just going to go across the top. Now, I'll go ahead and mention that, again, you can do this however you want, and you can have it as bare bones and basic, or you can put trim on it like I'm doing. You can definitely do some chamfers or bevels or anything really. I ended up not chamfering any edges or routing anything because I just put these trim pieces on. And then here we're just drilling our small hole for our magnet. Now, I will tell you, this was a little bit of trial and error. My magnets weren't very strong, or not strong enough. So I ended up taking these back out after the fact and putting more into it to try to create a stronger magnet. So I would say when you're buying magnets, just get the strongest ones you can that will fit in the size space that you need. That way you don't have to worry about them not having enough pull with each other. We drilled a small hole from the top side, and then I'm just making a bigger hole on the bottom side. That way I've got room for a washer to go into. And I just decided to just use a little CA glue here, kind of stand our archway on our base. I did go back and shoot a few brad nails from the underside. Now we're working on our cross itself. Again, you can make this really any size you want that fits within your area. So I just figured out a size that worked for me. It was like 6.5 inches and a 3.5 inch piece. And then here I'm just marking out where my half laps are going to be. There's different ways you can put this together. I just decided to do half laps on each piece. And I forgot to turn the camera on for the half laps, so I didn't show that being cut at the table saw, but here we go. We've got them done, just cleaning those up a bit. And here we're going to be drilling another hole for another magnet. This will be the one that's going to go opposite. Then I found out my bit here was a little dull. But we'll set our other magnet in. Now make sure you're putting these the right direction, so you have pull with each other and not pushing apart from the one that you have set in the archway or however you build yours. Then I had some Jacobean stain. It's one of my favorite stain colors, and I just thought with the kind of roughed up, kind of sanded cross that this would kind of really give it kind of an old weathered wood look, which if you know your old hymnals or your old hymns from the hymnals, Old Rugged Cross is one of the classics. And here I'm just hitting the frame with some poly clear coat. Normally on projects like this, I like to use spray shellac, but didn't have any of that available, so we just went with this. Now here's where it gets fun, and you watch any of the videos on these things, they'll tell you this is the little bit of tricky part. So I do have an eyelet screwed up in the bottom of the cross here, and I'm just tying some of the fishing line on. So we're going to take this, and now we've got to figure out how long we need the line to be so that there's just the right amount of pull from the two magnets. So we're going to thread our fishing line down through our base, and it's just kind of some trial and error here. I do have a washer that I'm going to go ahead and slide up onto the fishing line, so that way once I get the right length of line and the right amount of tension with the cross, with the magnets, I can go ahead and take a marker and kind of mark on the fishing line where I want to actually attach the washer at. And this took a lot longer than what I recorded and I'm putting on the video, but I finally now have figured out the right length I need, so I'm just going to tie on this washer all the way. And you can use other things. You know, I've seen one guy use a small nail that just held up in the hole he had drilled out, but The washer just kind of made sense to me in the round hole. So. Hey, look at that, we got it right. It took a little bit of time though. We're just going to clip off our extra fishing line here. All right, guys, well, there you go. My version of the floating cross. Now, I did kind of a simple one today, so I could just show you that you could do anything. You could make this project with just simple scrap wood that you had laying around. Didn't take anything special. Of course, the magnet trick on top and the fishing line creates an appearance that it is floating. Like I said, I've seen a lot of these being made. It's super trendy right now. I've seen people do them with simple hooks. I've seen people make house shape over the top of them. All kinds of things. And so, and you can use anything in the middle. I've seen people do just geometric shapes. One guy did a lantern with a tea light in it, so it looked like it had a floating lantern. Again, really endless possibilities with this little trendy project that's going around right now. I think I'm going to make a few more of them with some different designs and different styles and take them to our next few vendor shows and see how they do. And I'll maybe keep you guys updated on the post on how we do with them. But I want to give you a simple version of it today and just show you an example. I think it's really neat, and I hope you did too. Remember, we were all created for a purpose, so go out and create with a purpose. You guys take care, and we'll see you next time.